Hi, thank you for joining us for the screening of 100 Ways to Cross the Border. It's my pleasure to introduce director Amber Bemak to join us in this wonderful discussion about her film.
Thank
Thank you for joining us, Amber. It's great to have you to discuss all the many layers and beautiful imagery within the film.
Mhm.
First, I'd just like to ask you how it first started and kind of your process in getting it created. There's just so much in terms of really exhibiting the artistry of Guillermo Gómez-Peña and La Pocha Nostra. So I'd really love to hear how that came to be.
So, like, how I started the film.
Yeah, and even just getting connected with Guillermo and the
Yeah.
troupe and kind of
Yeah. So I have a longtime collaborator that was also my partner for many years, who's in the film, Nadia Granados. And she is a very sort of like important performance artist in Colombia and also in Latin America. And so we were together and we were living in Mexico City. And she was introduced to Guillermo, who told her that she was his favorite artist. So yeah, we just started hanging out. Like Guillermo and his wife Bali, and me and Nadia started becoming. We were just friends. And they would spend time in Mexico City, and we'd go to their house for these beautiful and like very fun performance parties, which were unlike anything that I had experienced in the States. And just in terms of like really sharing art just to share it, not like competing for a grant or like, thinking about it. It just felt like really a beautiful, like multi-generational experiences at his house. And so I remember one of those nights, I think we had been at a party at his house until like 6 in the morning. And I think I was like naked and like, sitting on a chair blindfolded. And I remember I did this, and like we were taking these like turns of like one person like being the sculpture and the rest of the party. This was like probably 4 in the morning or something. The rest of the party like directing, kind of like Pocha style. Like that's how they sort of play around in terms of performance. And I think I remember like reaching, there was a man standing next to me, and I remember like taking his cell phone out of his pocket and then like rubbing his crotch with his own cell phone, like blindfolded at like 4 in the morning. Anyway, so like it was that kind of a moment. And we went home, and when we woke up in the morning, Nadia, who's the creative producer on the film, she was like, "Hey, has anyone made a film about Guillermo?" You know, and we Googled it, and there is the film Couple in the Cage that is about that particular project that he did with Coco Fusco, and the incredible project that he did. But besides that, there's not a film about him. So I actually called them that morning. I called Bali, and I was like, "Hey, should I make a film about Guillermo?" And she said that morning she had woken up and told Guillermo, like, "Hey, Amber should make a film about you." So both of our partners had said it to us, and then we were like, "Okay, let's do it." So that was how it started. And
I
that was
mean,
like,
to just have that frequency, right?
yeah, it was weird. It was weird. It was weird. So, and that was the beginning of the journey, and that was like a long time ago, maybe 2016 or yeah.
That's beautiful.
Mhm.
I mean, just to hear the energy, I think what's really beautiful about the film is seeing how you were able to film and recreate that energy within the film. And I wondered, like, you have an performance art background as well. And do you feel like that helps shape it? Because I think there's something when you're in performance art spaces, it feels like ritual and it's really can be at times very hard to transfer that into like a film or video medium. And how do you think your own art approach influence and you were able to really exude that energy that you felt?
Yeah. I mean, I wanted the film to feel like the work of Pocha. you know, and I think so many times there's like films about an artist and it's just like the structure doesn't mirror the work, you know, the structure of the film doesn't. And I'm, you know, at heart, I'm an experimental filmmaker, whatever that means. So, I didn't want to make like a traditional structure of a documentary, like a biopic or something like that. I wanted to really think about the energy. That's not just with this film. I often try to think about transmitting energy, as funny as that sounds. But I think about it like on set. I think about it in editing. It's like it really matters to me what is going on like energetically on a shoot or something like that. Um, and it was really important to me to do that. I am like a performance artist, but not really. Like I'm definitely more of like a behind the camera kind of person. I don't love being in front of the camera, and I definitely don't love being like, you know, performing or something like that. But it was really important to be in the work. And actually am in my work often, like in my other work as well. Like I use my own body, but that's just because I think that has a relationship with like ethics of representation for me. It's important for me to code my own body in relationship to uh, whatever I'm filming and in different ways, because my body gets coded in different ways in juxtaposition with other bodies or places or objects. And so that's just like a long-term interest of mine. And because Guillermo and I are so, both of our, one thing that we share in our work is this like real obsession with what it means to, yeah, like represent. Like he does all this stuff around reverse anthropology. I'm really interested in like really interrogating the frameworks of documentary. And so, yeah, and is that a rambling answer? I wanna
No,
make
not
sure
at all. I mean, it's really beautiful to hear because I think it is true that we do see in more traditional documentary kind of the filmmaker's voice and vision and maybe sometimes overshadowing the actual film subjects and artistic groups energy. And I think
Mhm,
there is something really beautiful where this, you have ways of showing just the collaboration and community energy of this group. And it's just interesting to say how you use your body to interrogate these different conversations because that's
mhm,
something that I really loved is how you and Guillermo are consistently there are those moments of tension that you leave in the film between the two of you and
mhm,
when he you know wants to maintain control of his image but then you're also having these playful stage moments of
mhm,
identifying kind of like different power structures or dynamics within
mhm,
your identity too. So I
mhm.
wondered if you could talk about just that process of like collaborating in that way to have those conversations within the film.
Yeah. There's 2 types of, like, interactions between him and I that take place in the film. The first one is, like, staged and, like, definitely performative, and the second type is, like, this long conversation that we had that was not staged, but we knew we were performing it. We had been filming, and that's the conversation that is the skeleton that like weaves through the film with me in the sparkly silver sweater and the ugly scarf that I wish I hadn't been wearing during that conversation. But yeah, and with short hair. And so that conversation was basically like we had just been having like a really long day and we started you know, talking like having this sort of like, you know, this clash that was it was like kind of joking, but like we were bringing up the issues. And you know, I said I'm an experimental filmmaker at heart, but like my roots are in documentary, so I was like, keep filming, you know, like
Yeah.
we were talking and I was like to the whole crew, I was like, keep going, you know. So and he knew I mean everybody knew we were keeping on filming, so that conversation was really long. And you know, it was like we were burnt out and we were just like, bah, bah, bah. And then at the end, when we finally cut, we were both like, oh, that's the best thing we've shot so far. Like both of us were like, oh, that was really the most interesting thing we've done. So that conversation got, I mean, my editor, Miguel Schwerdfinger, who's a master and a genius and a beautiful human being, he really helped me to structure that conversation because it went through a lot of iterations of like ordering. And I think it finally got to the right like order because it's obviously not linear at all. Like the sections are completely like taken from a larger thing and not in the way it went. So I think it adds to the film in terms of just like, and it's very Pocha, it's like, okay, this is what's going on. Let's be meta about it, and the performative stuff was just like fun, like, and you, I felt like I was really interested in, again, like the symbolic coding of a naked director, especially in the mix with the conversation around documentary practice. And so nudity just symbolizes vulnerability in a certain kind of, it can be a symbol of vulnerability. And so all these questions about like power and directing. And I was like, I Googled it when I thought of it. Cause I was like, is there a naked director in film? Like any, like I couldn't find one, but I'd be interested if anyone has seen one. If we were alive, I would like ask, but yeah, so I thought that was like a metaphor and it just interrupts that whole, symbolically interrupts that whole thing about control and like gaze and stuff like that. And so then the gaze like turns and then, I was just playing with that.
No, it was really beautifully done. I mean, I love that it is having those overt conversations where I think we walk away from some documentaries and we're like, whose gaze is this meant for? And I love the moment where you're just like, Guillermo's like, this is going to be for white audiences. And then you're like, yes. But, there's like that satire and humor
Yeah.
within it, which is like, but is it really, Because I feel like there is so much beauty of like really showing this way of finding utopia through the body and crossing
Mhm.
borders through the body that's really eloquently done in the film. And I'd love to just hear kind of how this idea of radical tenderness comes up with all of them. And I would love to hear just kind of like how you carry radical tenderness, through the filmmaking process, how you maybe like filming them over these, what it seems like 6 years, how that has affected you as a filmmaker now.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, radical tenderness, I wish they were part, someone was there from their group to talk about that. I know, well, this isn't going to be for the screening, but there are people from Pocha coming to the screening tonight, from the larger Pocha community. But that is a concept that's their kind of like thing, although of course we understand what it means. And it's a beautiful framework that they have. And I love that. And that's one of the things I actually like loved about Guillermo when I first met him was like, he was so kind, and so embracing, and sometimes he felt like a grandmother, like not in a bad way, but just like that energy of like love and like really, and that was like the energy that, kind of attracted me to going into this journey with him. In terms of my own, yeah, I mean, I'm like, I'm humbled to say, like, I try my best, when I make work, it's important to me to be conscious about what I'm doing, conscious about how the people I'm working with feel about the work, how I feel with them. And also thinking about like what the film does beyond the screen. This is just one part of my practice. I also have like a pretty deep practice in community media and like media for advocacy and participatory film, which feels more vibrant in terms of like radical tenderness, like documentary experimental film, like that's just because I need to make art to survive as a person. And hopefully people feel something from it. But yeah.
Great, thank you. I would just love to see if you have any final thoughts or any hopes that you hope this film inspires in other people.
Yeah. I do. And it's totally cheesy, so please bear with me, but I'm a professor, and so I hang out with a lot of 18 to 22-year-olds. Like that's my main kind of like social is like mainly I socialize with that group of people for, many, many years. So that's like the generation that I'm spending the most time with. Um, and I feel like, and sorry if anyone's in that group, I feel like there's this way that my students and other people that age are, me and my friends like to say, sometimes it feels like they're ahistorical and like there's no sense of lineage. And I really, really, because everything is so immediate right now, like, social media and blah, blah, blah. But it's like the idea that like Guillermo, for over 40 years has just been like doing this work. And I don't include in the film all the times that he was threatened by, you know, whatever. Like I'm not good. I don't want to say, but like just it hasn't been easy for him to keep fighting for what he believes. It's not like he's just like an artist. Like it's not like any of us. It's so easy for any of us who are actually like doing the work that is getting censored or is getting like Homeland Security's following you to your show, or like you get stabbed in the middle of your, like all these things that I hear from like people doing really important politically radical work. And so I think I made this film for that generation to give like a sense of lineage and a sense of, and I love the footage of Guillermo, the archival footage of him saying things in the 80s that we're saying now as if it's new. And I'm not trying to be like this, but I'm like, take strength in that, take heart in that. Like people have been saying this, people have been fighting for this. Like we can feel inspired to keep going and keep trying and keep fighting, or not fighting, I hate that word, keep efforting for what we believe in because other people have been doing it.
Great. Thank you so much, Amber. Really appreciate you giving us more insight into the film and taking a time to share this with us. Thank you.
Thank you.